Hey, welcome back, everybody. Of course, this is Dr. Keith McNally, and I'm here again to talk to you about project-based learning. Well, in a sense, I'm going to talk about PBL because it's of such value to me. But really, today is about reflection. And so I'm going to go back to review an original video that I did some time ago. I made a series of 6 videos talking about the impact project-based learning has on learners. So there are specific strategies that the learner can incorporate in order to make learning more effective. And so I talked at great length about that, but I'm only here to talk about the first one that I made. And the question was, are you a risk taker? Now, strategy number 5 includes self-reflection. And so in this video, I'm going to talk about my self-reflection on the first question. Are you a risk taker? So let's go ahead and ask the question. Dr. McNally, are you a risk taker? Well, that's an incredible question to ask. And so I'm going to take my time to think about that and then evaluate, how am I a risk taker? So I was what was considered a non-traditional student way back in the day. That means I didn't go right from high school into college. I actually spent some time in the Marine Corps, and I talk about that in other content areas. And that, of course, could be a whole different series of things to talk about. But my focus is the experience I had in my public speaking class. Now, way back in the day, that was not my thing. So public speaking, speaking in front of others, of course, one of the biggest fears other than dying or falling from a height, that is not my thing, or at least it wasn't at the time. And that was quite evident because I pushed off the course, the class, for until my junior year. And then I decided that the best way to approach this would be in summer school. So instead of using a 16-week session, this was traditional college, 16-week session of public speaking, I condensed that to 6 weeks, good thing. And then it was during the summertime. So it was a summer way back in the 90s in North Carolina. And so I'm not going to go ahead and talk about all of that experience, but the 4 speeches that I had to give in the classroom in front of 20 some odd other folk who I didn't even know was the scariest thing I've ever did in my life, almost. But it definitely wasn't a pleasurable experience at that time because, and I always use, this is my safeguard. This is a cloth. Now, back in the day, it used to be a handkerchief. And so if you know what those are, good for you. And so I kept it in the back pocket of my pants. And whenever I began to sweat, because that was the natural thing to do when you get nervous and be afraid of what it is you're doing, it was easy to just kind of do this. And that kind of was the go-to or the knee-jerk reaction, but it didn't really take away the perspiration, because at the end of the day, at the end of the 10-minute speech, I had looked as if I had just, jumped into a pool of water. That's how bad it was. But there was a spark that was ignited inside of me that said, there's something here. And 30 some odd later, 30 some odd years later, here I am, and I am stumbling over my words, which is really odd. But I'm here to say I took that opportunity and took that spark that was ignited inside of me and said, um, I want more of this. So what I did was I started taking risks. So what did that mean, or what does that mean, or what did that look like? So in order to get better at public speaking or speaking in front of others, or just being in that environment, I really didn't know how to approach it. And I didn't have any monies at the time, out of college, making little monies. And again, we're talking several years ago. instead of trying to pay somebody to teach me how to do it or go to a school to teach me how to do it, I decided to learn it on my own. Meaning what? Meaning that, when I went into work and there was an opportunity to do a training to teach somebody, and at the time I was a mental health professional, to do a training, to do a teacher training in mental health issues for their students, or to do a parent training to help parents understand mental health issues in their children. I started volunteering for these events. And so I continued to volunteer throughout my time as a mental health professional. And then as I went into the field of IT, I used that experience to kind of, again, be in a position of putting myself in front of others just as a trainer. And quite frankly, there were some days I was really good at it and some days I was not really good at it. And so that's kind of um, what to expect as you go through that risk-taking adventure. There's going to be days when you are good, and there's going to be days when you're not so good. And so you take those opportunities to learn from both of them. And so eventually, I went on and got my master's degree and, of course, my doctoral degree, but not so much. I didn't really anticipate going into the classroom, and which is where I am now. So I teach college. So I started at the community college level, went to college, and I teach at universities. And now I'm transitioning into public speaking. Go figure, right? So I say all that to say is I threw myself in front of the bus. No, I'm not sure if that's a saying, but it's my saying, meaning that I put myself in a risk-taking situation where I could easily have failed in front of a lot of people and have embarrassed myself or whatever. Now I'm embarrassing myself in front of the world because I post video content on YouTube or LinkedIn. So with that being as it is, I'm simply saying is challenging yourself, being able to take risk in order to improve whatever it is you want to improve about yourself, either personally or professionally, is a good thing. It's okay to fail, and then it's okay to try and try again until you get it right. Now, this wasn't a perfect video, and that was intentional because it's okay not to be perfect all the time, but it's okay to take risks. So with that, I'm going to stop the video. Hopefully this was of value to you, and I'll see you next time. Take care.